Kunja Vihari Jaya Ram Gopi Janaballabha Girivaradhi Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodana Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Paramahamsa Parvarajikacharya also said the cease with AC Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sakahal Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopada Shama Kunda Radha Kota Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Jamuna Tulasi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Go Premanandi all glories to some of the devotees, all glories to some of the devotees, all glories to some of the devotees, all glories to Sri Guru Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Buddhale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachadane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatadane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasali Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 47, verse 59. Faimastrayo vanachari rabichara dushta Krishnekvachaisa paramatmani ruda bhavaha Nant ishvaro nu bhajato vidushopi sakshat Shreyastanoja gada raja ivopayuktaha Kva, where ima these striya, women, vana, in the forest, chari, who wander, vyabhichara, improper behavior, dushta, contaminated, krishne, for Krishna, kvacha, and where, esha, this, Paramatmani, for the Supreme Soul. Ruda Bhava, stage of perfect love. Nanu, certainly. Ishvara, personality of Godhead. Anubhajata, of one who constantly worships him. Avidusha, not learned. Api, even though. Sakshat, directly, Shreya, highest good. Tanoti, bestows. Agada, of medicines. Raja, the king. Eva, as if. Upayukta, taken. Translation. How amazing it is that these simple women who wander about the forest, seemingly spoiled by improper behavior, have achieved the perfection of unalloyed love for Krishna, the Supreme Soul. Still, it is true that the Supreme Lord himself awards his blessings even to an ignorant worshipper, just as the best medicine works even when taken by a person ignorant of its ingredients. Purport: the use of the word kva in the first two lines indicates a sharp contrast between apparent incompatible terms. In this case, the apparently insignificant and even impure position of the Gopis, mentioned in the first line, and their attainment of the highest perfection of life, mentioned in the second. In this regard, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti describes three types of adulterous women. The first is a woman who enjoys both her husband and a lover, and being faithful to neither. Both ordinary society and scripture condemn this conduct. The second type of adulterous woman is she who abandons her husband to enjoy only with her lover. Society and the scriptures also condemn this behavior, although such a fallen woman may be said to be at least have good quality of dedicating herself to a single man. The last kind of adulterous woman is she who abandons her husband and joys in the attitude of being a lover of the Supreme Lord alone. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti explains that although foolish common people criticize this position, such behavior is commended by those who are wise in spiritual science. Therefore, learned members of the society and the revealed scriptures praise such single-minded devotion to the Lord. Such was the Gopis' behavior. Thus the term vyabhichara dushta, corrupted by deviation, indicates the apparent resemblance between the Gopis' behavior and that of ordinary adulterous women. Translation: how amazing it is that these simple women who wander about the forest, seemingly spoiled by improper behavior, have achieved the perfection of unalloyed love for Krishna, the Supreme Soul. Still, it is true that the Lord himself awards his blessings even to an ignorant worshipper, just as the best medicine works even when taken by a person ignorant of its ingredients. So this verse is spoken from we can say, a relative point of view, not an absolute point of view, because Uddhava here is saying that, the gopis look like they're fallen, but anyway, just as medicine works, even if the person is low or high or whatever, so the Supreme Lord also gives benedictions to all sorts of persons. So, as I said, that's a rather material point of view, because actually the gopis are not low in any way. They're actually at the highest level. And many of them are nityasiddha. They're eternally in this position, so they don't have anything to achieve. So the main point, of course, is that these women have got this exalted position of the highest type of love for the Lord. Secondly, they're not what one expects as the highest women. They're just women who wander around in the forest with the cows, the cowherd women, simple women. And thirdly, their behavior looks faulty, because they apparently have husbands, and they leave those husbands for Krishna. So from a material point of view, this is faulty. Of course, as explained in the purport, this is apparent only, apparent fault. Because actually, if one sacrifices everything for the Supreme Lord, then that actually is the best quality of all. And in fact, prema means give everything to the Lord and nothing for the self or anybody else. So to achieve that level is not a fault at all. But there is apparent fault in the fact that apparently the gopis have families and husbands and children, mothers and fathers, etc., and they abandon those for Krishna. So in Vrindavan, of course, nobody regards Krishna as Supreme Lord, and therefore the fault looks more apparent, that they're abandoning their husbands for a little boy, Krishna, not the Supreme Lord. So again, there would be fault there. So this, of course, is apparent because ultimately Krishna is Supreme Lord, but in Vrindavan, he does not act like the Supreme Lord or appear like the Supreme Lord. But similarly, all the people of Vrindavan, they're the highest devotees, but they do not appear to be so because they look like ordinary cowherd people. And they don't recognize Krishna as Supreme Lord. They look like they're very ignorant. So this is all an appearance only. Though Krishna is a cowherd, he's also Supreme Lord. Though the cowherd people look very simple, they're also the most exalted devotees. And though the cowherd women look like they have husbands, these are apparent husbands. And apparent relationships with others. Ultimately, if they've dedicated themselves to the Supreme Lord, that is the foundation of all other relationships. That's the most important relationship. And of course, whether it is man or woman or whatever, that is, of course, we can say material vision, because in the spiritual world, both men and women ultimately sacrifice everything for the Supreme Lord. And that is the primary relationship rather than a relationship with another man or whatever. So for pastimes, we have Krishna appearing like a cowherd boy, and all the people of Vrindavan not recognizing Krishna as Supreme Lord, but taking him as another cowherd boy. And within that context, then, all the pastimes take place. Huh? But this lack of awareness of Krishna being the Supreme Lord and thinking that they are all simple cowherd people creates the best conditions for the highest love. And particularly the love of the gopis with the apparent husbands and whatever. This creates the highest type of love. So therefore, ultimately, there is no fault. So vyabhichara means to deviate from the proper standards. So yes, from the material point of view, there is what appears to be deviation. But from the absolute point of view, no. Because they give up everything for Krishna. Therefore they say, looked like it was, seemingly spoiled by improper behavior, when actually they weren't. We have the cowherd women, the gopis, who appear to be just cowherd people who are acting improperly. And then on the other hand, we have Krishna, who's actually Paramatma. He's Supreme Lord. So how is it possible that we have a Supreme Lord relating to people who are so faulty and so low and fallen, etc.? Though they seem to be so fallen, they have attained Rudabhava, highest level of devotion to the Lord. And Krishna also responds to them. Therefore, this is an apparent lowness in being women, being cowherds, being contaminated with bad behavior. It's all apparent only. So the example given here is that of a medicine that works in any case, whether the person knows about the medicine, whether they're ignorant, whether they're low class or high class. If they take the medicine, then they get the result. So similarly, the Lord will respond to everyone if He sees some wonderful quality in them. And even if they appear to be most unqualified, the Lord gives His blessings to those persons. However, we can say that ultimately, if we want to take this example, that medicines work, but if you take the medicine in the proper way, then it gives better result. If you just take it once in a while, if you take it regularly, better, and if you take it according to a doctor's instructions, then you get much better result. So there's some qualification by which the medicine will work better. And similarly with the Supreme Lord, definitely, He's merciful to all people, but if one is a devotee, then one gets better results. And if one is a better devotee, one gets much better results. So, the gopis had attained Rudabhava, highest result, most exalted love. This indicates that they were the most qualified. They were not fallen, they were not contaminated by bad behavior or anything. They must have been the most qualified. So therefore, all of this is just apparent. So there's no fault at all. They're actually on the highest level. So this verse is not meant as any criticism of the gopis. Actually, it's meant as a praise for the gopis. So therefore, what appears to be a fault here cannot be taken as an actual fault. But rather, it shows that because the Lord responds to them in this way, they must have the highest position of prema. So no fault in their behavior at all, because they have the highest prema. So all of this is only apparent. Their lack of qualification is only apparent. On the other hand, we have to understand that all of this scenario where the people of Vrindavan appear to be cowherds and not so high class and ignorant of the Krishna's Supreme Lord, it's not a fault at all. It's a good quality. Because it's only in that condition that one can attain this type of bhava. So Uddhava does not go and praise the yadus or the queens in Dwarka or anyone in this way. He's praising the gopis particularly. So this type of scenario that looks like a fault, producing fault, etc., which is in Vrindavan, is actually the ideal setting for the highest prema, and nothing other than that. Therefore, we should understand this as a verse of praise for the gopis' love. As in the previous verse, we find this same phrase, Ruda Bhava, is used at this very, very high level of prema. So prema, of course, is exalted in any way is high. We have sadhana bhakti, bhav bhakti, and prem bhakti. So prema is highest, it's the goal. And if anyone attains prema of any sort, it's to be praised. But within prema itself, then we have different levels according to the different qualified persons, according to their particular method of service, etc., according to their own mood. There is different levels of prema as well. And the highest prema is this Ruda Bhava of the gopis. It's the highest of all. So the gopis are in this position, so therefore they are the most worthy of praise. They reach this very, very high level. So this is not visible in other persons, in Vrindavan or anywhere else. Even though the queens in Dwarka have Madhurya Rasa, and they have female bodies, Stri, etc. And of course they're married to Krishna. They don't have Ruda Bhava. They are queens. They're not wandering in the forest like the gopis. So yes, they're women and they have Madhurya Rasa, but it's not on the same level. It's less. So this particular condition of being wandering in the forest and whatever is not at all a criticism. It is one of the causes why they at this highest level of love. So, though Krishna is called Paramatma here, to indicate the greatness of Krishna in comparison to everybody else, with Ruda Bhava, the gopis do not see Krishna as Supreme Lord at all. Rather, quite the opposite, because of their particular condition of wandering in the forest and being cowherd people and being very simple-minded, etc. So this is not an important factor in their love for Krishna. They do not love him because he's Supreme Lord at all. They love him because he's a cowherd. They love him because of his attractive qualities, not because he is Supreme Lord. So the normal concept, of course, is that we have Supreme Lord with all powerful qualities and we establish a relationship with him as Supreme Lord. That's the normal idea. But here among the people of Vrindavan, they're not aware of that at all. But this ignorance, so-called ignorance, produces the most intense love of all. So, therefore, their condition and their particular mood here in Parakya Bhava is actually the condition for the highest type of love of it all. So who attains this? Who attains this? Has to be certain jivas who are highly qualified. They are the ones that get to this level. So, all the gopis that Uddhava saw in Vrindavan, and of course the highest gopi Radha, had this qualification. And the queens in Dwarka don't have it, the women in Mathura don't have it, And even the people and other people in Vrindavan are not at that level. So some very, very rare phenomena here. They're the most qualified persons and therefore worthy of the most praise by Uddhava. Though they may appear to be unqualified by these different qualities mentioned in the first line, actually they are the most qualified because of these same qualities. Because they're women, because they're cowherd people, because they are Amparikya Rasa, they've got this highest level of all. And they don't see Krishna as Supreme Lord. So actually what looks like condemnation is actually praise, because these are the conditions for having that Ruda Bhava, or the highest love. So Uddhava himself, of course, is also aware of this. He also understands that the gopis are not actually fallen and they're not actually simple. They're the most highest, at the highest level of all. He appreciates the gopis and he appreciates the other people in Vrindavan. He understands that this type of love is much higher than that in Mathura or Dwarka, etc. But he makes this expression in this way just to, we say superficially, criticize, to emphasize the remarkable nature of that love and the highest qualification of the gopis.
We see this, gopis are glorified and praised. Are the gopis themselves aware that they are being praised, or they're very humble and they don't accept? They don't.
Well, they're obviously hearing all of this, but at the same time, when they hear praise, they don't become proud. Rather, they feel they're unqualified. So the nature of prema itself is humility. And of course, when they get to the gopis, they are the ones that feel the most unqualified. Therefore, there's no sense of pride when they hear praise. And when they see other devotees, they don't feel superior in any way. They feel most fallen.
Does all the gopis and queens of Dwarka who were in Madhurya Rasa, they were Nitya Siddhas, or they were other jivas also who attained it?
There's also sadhana siddhas and those who were even approaching sadhana siddha status. The gopis who were locked up, for instance, were sadhakas who were almost perfect, and when they burned up the last impurities by being separated from Krishna, then they became siddha. And of course it's described that there were two types of sadhana siddhas, that is, the Upanishads, personified Vedas, who desired to be gopis, so they became gopis, and the sages of Dandakaranya forest who saw Rama and desired to have a Madhurya Rasa relationship with him, so they became born as gopis also. So two classes of, those are the general classes of sadhana siddhas in this particular lila.
But second thing, we see anybody who is achieving a Madhurya Rasa or getting a Madhurya Rasa is in a female body. So is it a qualification for that?
Well, in the spiritual world, one can take any type of body, but what is suitable for the particular rasa. So for Madhurya Rasa, it has to be female form. For Vatsalya Rasa, it could be male or female. For Sakya Rasa, it has to be male body. For Dasya Rasa, it could be either male or female. Yeah. So that's what they practice in Raganuga. They meditate on having a gopi body, and they serve in that body in sadhana.
You see, we see this, especially these gopis, those who are married, they have a relationship with Krishna, like a Madhurya Rasa. And what about their husband? Because we don't see any reciprocation or relationship between the husband of the gopis as well as with Krishna.
Yeah. Well, later in the Ras Leela, at the end of the Ras Leela, it's described that none of the people in Vrindavan, including the husbands, had any envy of Krishna. So this means that one, they were not aware of what was happening. Two, it's also described that the actual gopis did not have relationships with their husbands at all, only with Krishna. So therefore, we can say it as a type of yoga maya, in which they were apparently married to these husbands, but then actually there was no relationship with them. And then another explanation given by Jiva Goswami is that in what would look like a parent relationship with their husband was actually not the real gopis. That they attained that had the real body when they were with Krishna. When they were with the husbands, they were not in their real body. That was a false body.
What about in the spiritual world? They also have a husband, apparent, but still, they maintain relationship with Krishna in the spiritual world. But my question is that, what is the relationship between Krishna and the husband of the gopis? That then Daisarasa or some other rasa?
It's
This husband of the gopis as well and with Krishna.
It's not really described what their relationship would be, because we don't usually talk about relationships between, two jivas in the spiritual world, the rasas with Krishna. But of course, obviously, let's say cowherd boys have a relationship with each other as friends, the gopis have relationships with other gopis as friends, whatever like that. So, and servants would have a relationship with servants as friends like that. So generally they have a friendly relationship, at least.
Another question is, Maharaj, see in the Queen of Dwaraka, and if you compare Queen of Dwaraka and compare with the Braja Gopis, it's mentioned that the love of Gopis is highest because of their intensity. But how can we say that in the Queen of Dwaraka they don't have also love, similar kind of love? How can we say this? Because they also think Krishna only. Correct. How do they also try to associate Krishna constantly.
It's Madhurya Rasa.
Yeah, Madhurya Rasa. But how can we say that their love is lower than the Gopis?
Well, in a sense, it's less intense, mainly because of the regard they give to Krishna as Supreme Lord, and this restricts their love to some degree, that love. And of course, among the queens, there's various levels. So we have the topmost queens as Rukmini and Satyabhama, and then we have others, and then we have the other 16,000 who are lesser in intensity. And similarly in Vrindavan, it's Radha's the highest, most intense, and we have Chandravali, then we have others. So there are also degrees of Madhurya Rasa, even in Vrindavan. But generally it's more intense because they don't perceive Krishna as Supreme Lord, and therefore more intense relationship. And that goes for the other rasas as well. Vatsalya is more intense in Vrindavan because they don't see Krishna as Supreme Lord. With Vasudeva and Devaki, it's less intense.
See, this Narad Muni, when he was visiting Dwaraka, he saw that Krishna is everywhere. And Krishna is dealing with each and all the queens differently.
Yeah.
But they also see Krishna everywhere, always. Not that, Krishna sometimes with them, sometimes not with them. He's always with them. Then how can you say that in this, there is a different grade of the queen?
Well, they have different intensities of love. So Rukmini and Satyabhama have the most intense love within that, and others have lesser amounts of love. Just as I said in Vrindavan, the gopis also have intensity in their love and different qualities in their love. The most intense is Radha, then there's Chandravali, and then there's others like that. So there's degrees of intensity within Madhurya Rasa due to the nature of the individual, that's all.
And the question, Maharaj, is, this verse, there is one analogy is given, this medicine. If you follow the rules and regulation and take the medicine, it is more effective. If you don't follow the rules and regulation, if you just take, it's less effective. Sometimes we see sadhaka, they show that, as we have taken the process of devotion, we don't have to follow any rules and regulation. And anyway, we have to accept Krishna as the Supreme Lord, and we can follow whatever we like. Anyway, our love is there for Krishna. So
we get some effect, or even if you're ignorant, Ajamil, no knowledge at all. That's the name of Narayan, he gets rid of his karmas. So, Namabhas, yes, we get rid of karmas, we may get some progress, a slow purification, etc. But if we want prema, then we have to do pure bhakti, Sudanam. So, different effect for different conditions. So, like medicine, You can get some effect, but not maybe you won't get cured. You get some relief from your pain if you just take the medicine. But if you want real cure, then you have to take it steadily and according to the doctor's prescription. Then you can get rid of the disease completely. So, different effects according to how you use the particular method.
There is some basic things is mentioned in the scripture, like as a sadhaka, one should put tilaka, one should have tulsi mala. But if someone do not, someone try to follow the mira, and to be like a mirabai, follow this. We don't know. She also loved Krishna. We also follow the same thing. Anyway, we have a love for Krishna.
Yeah.
So how to see this kind of devotees? Can I say that there are all like a shahadiya?
Well, we can say that if they're not going to follow rules and regulations or any particular sampradaya, it's very difficult to advance to the highest levels. Definitely because of their favorable attitude, they get some result, but they don't get the ultimate result. They can get some purification, but not the ultimate result.